again, why would God want this person for you? And unfortunately, I've seen individuals where, thinking of some situations I've seen where, let's say, they've prayed about it. God, show me a sign. Like, matter of fact, I just had someone recently say they were dealing with a guy who was verbally abusive, very toxic relationship in a lot of different ways. And she said, she figured that this is what God wanted for her, because when she prayed and asked God to remove this person if he's not for her, this man never went away. All right? And this is why I tell people, and I even mentioned this in my book, The Man God Has For You. I'll show it to you a little bit later. But in it, I talk about how, especially specifically with women, that there's a prayer I don't want y'all to keep praying. And that prayer is, Lord, if he's not for me, please remove him. And just as what happened with this young lady is what I explained, where you are now putting it on God to remove this person. Understand that everyone has free will. And we have to ask God what we need to do in that situation, not just simply do it for us, especially when we're talking about other people being in our lives. Now, I'm not saying no one has ever been removed by the grace of God. But what I'm saying to you is that if God forbid, like in this situation, this person does not go away, you will now assume, well, this must be what God wants. And she ignored the fact that he was toxic. She ignored the fact that he essentially pulled her away from God. She ignored all the things that went against what God would want for her or any child of his. Why? Because when she prayed, this man still remained in her life. So it's extremely important that you, one, understand and start to evaluate, does this person help me cultivate my relationship with God, or does this person undermine my relationship with God? If they undermine it, then no. The only exception to that is, and I'll say this will apply to everything I'm about to list in this video. Sometimes it's a matter of it's not time to be with them, all right? So even if you believe that this person is the person that God wants you to be with, let's just say even you've prayed about it and you feel in your spirit, this is it. But this person is still behaving in these toxic ways, undermining your faith. They have not grown yet. That means it's not time yet. And we'll dig into that a little bit more. But the bottom line is you got to pay attention to when they're pulling you away or undermining your relationship versus helping cultivate and push you towards God. Which brings me right to number 2, is they create a toxic environment. So as I mentioned in this previous example, this man was toxic. And again, it's not that even people of God can't have toxic moments, all right? It's not that even good people don't sometimes lose themselves and come out of character. It can happen. But when we're talking about this consistent negative behavior, this consistent toxic behavior, and more specifically, this consistent toxic environment, again, that is not of God. God is not in the midst of this fear, and when I say not in the midst, he is not trying to push you towards creating or not. I'm losing myself here because you know what? The reason why I'm hesitant is because sometimes God will walk us through a storm, all right? Because there's a purpose for us to go through that storm. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there.
Relationships are the key to a successful life. But there's 5 areas that we have to be mindful of when it comes to relationships. There's relationship with God, relationship with ourselves, relationship with family and friends,